So today's agenda will be, obviously we're going to start off with what is Odoo.sh, and then I'll go into how we go about, let's say, using Odoo.sh from a development to production perspective. And then when should I use Odoo.sh, as well as what are the guidelines to assess if Odoo.sh is the right solution for you. And then I'll go into pricing structure. It's mostly, we're very transparent in terms of how we price our solutions. I'll jump into that because that might get a little bit murky sometimes. And then I'll finish it off with conclusion and a Q&A session. Yeah, come in. All right. So what is Odoo.sh? And sometimes it's really good to answer a question by talking about what it isn't. So in this case, what I want to launch into is what did Odoo have in terms of a deployment platform prior to Odoo.sh? So up until we launched Odoo.sh 2 years ago, more or less, your two options were Odoo SaaS or Odoo Online. So those two names were very much synonymous. And what that is, it's our platform, our server, it's on our cloud, it's provided by us, and it is an enclosed environment, which means there is no possibility of doing any type of custom development or installing third application or custom modules or third-party applications that are in the market in our app store as well. So, and most of the times what it entails was an out-of-the-box implementation. We do have Studio, and I just gave a talk earlier about that, which Studio within itself does give you capabilities to customize your database within our SaaS environment, but that is not considered very much a custom type of a development, very robust development at all. But however, within that SaaS or online environment, we are, throughout all of our platforms, Odoo is very much API friendly. Our API documentation is readily available throughout our website, but there's definitely no development. And we do provide Odoo support and Odoo SLAs as well. And the other flavor, other platform that we've had for quite some time is obviously Odoo on-premises. And the context here is sometimes a project has to be on-premises for various reasons, whether it's for security reasons, for regulation reasons, or for a really heavy customization reason, or even a localization that we don't have for a different country. That's when the on-premises solution was born out of. So there, obviously, it's a private server cloud. It could be literally in your closet or using a third-party company that provides that, such as Amazon or Google. And then you have a partner. We typically would do that type of implementation directly on your server. It's an open environment. Obviously, you can be as creative as you want in terms of development. You can certainly still do out-of-the-box implementation on an on-premises instance without a problem. You still have the same API calls and API-friendly environment as well. Yes to complex development. However, what I meant there in no Odoo support in the sense that we do, obviously, if you have an enterprise license with us, we will provide you support on your questions, but our consultants and our support team will not touch an instance directly. They will guide the partner that did the implementation and guide them towards any type of issues that might arise within that on-premises solution. Does that make sense? So those two platforms, obviously, they have their pros and cons. And in this grid, we see that on Odoo SaaS, it's a very easy setup. It's our server, it's our platform. You go online, you start an instance, you add your applications, your users, you purchase the enterprise license, and you're good to go. We take care of the rest from the back end. It's easy maintenance. You can't, however, as I had mentioned earlier, you can't install custom applications or create modules that extend, let's say, one of our applications to fit your business model. And the server control is literally out of your hands at this point because we are the owners of the infrastructure. The mail servers are built in within our SaaS environment, so you can send and receive emails directly from the SaaS and online platform. On the premises column, clearly it's kind of the reverse, where it's not an easy setup. Whether it's you that sets up the server or a partner, there's infrastructure. You have to figure out who's the right database. Data center? Is it the right? You have to have the right server specifications that we provide, obviously. So there's a lot to, it's not an easy setup. It's not an easy maintenance either. However, you can install custom applications, third-party modules directly from our App Store, develop your own. Server control is more within your realm, within your hands. Mail servers can be a little bit more complicated here. Obviously, you can set up your own mail server, but it gets, again, it's all about ease of use. So this is where the concept of a platform as a service, or Odoo.sh, came from. We thought, what if we, and these are just some of the issues that we're trying to tackle, what if we tackled all of these with a platform, a turnkey solution? So that's where the concept of Odoo.sh comes from. It is our platform as a service, or PaaS. It is out of the box and can handle complex implementations, API calls, yes to development with multi-stages that we provide, multi-branches, whether it's you can do development, staging, production within that environment. And I'll show you real quick a high overview of that. And you can host custom modules or third-party applications that you can get from our App Store. So in essence, Odoo.sh is kind of, if I may backtrack here, the best of these two worlds. We take away the pain of the infrastructure. We'll do it for you. Ease of use. It's very flexible. Creating a database with a few clicks, and I'll do that. I'll do a quick demonstration on that compared to provisioning a server, going through all that process. Again, we handle the infrastructure and the SLAs. Odoo.sh opens the door to an easier implementation and support because we are touching now, or at least we're very familiar with that platform. Since it's our platform, we'll be able to support you and provide you, if you go through our implementation process, with an easier way to get to your end result. And Odoo.sh does, as you can imagine with a server or any other data center, we have three components to Odoo.sh that you have to take into consideration. And those three components are a worker, how many staging branches that you are going to need, and the memory that you are going to need. And a worker, I know this may be a little bit murky for some, but I know, for instance, I think Amazon uses the same term. But a worker is in essence a resource. So if you want to get down to the layman's terms, when you look at your machine, you want to know if you have a Pentium chip in there, that's basically what the resource is. How much data can you do per user? So, and just so you know, the formula is roughly with Odoo, one worker is the equivalent of about 15 concurrent users on a database. So keep that in mind. That's a rough formula. And there is a translation to, if you use, for instance, our website application, there's also a formula of how much is a worker to visitors on the website, and I can provide that afterwards. But those are the three main components to consider as you look at Odoo.sh as an option. So when you, from a commercial standpoint, when you engage, whether it's with a partner or directly with Odoo, and you do want to go the SH route, either the partner or Odoo's sales department will ask you, they will either ascertain throughout the discovery process how many users you have, how many applications, and they'll prescribe how many workers and staging branches you will need in memory, or we'll ask that along the way, but those are three components that you have to keep in mind. Odoo.sh databases requires obviously an Odoo Enterprise subscription, so this is not something that's available for the community version at all. And it will have the following components, as I said. Overall, a solution that includes Odoo.sh will have the following components. You'll have your applications, your users, the duration of the contract, and the Odoo.sh components that we talked about over there. So from a visual perspective, if we were to compare those two, the two first platforms that I discussed, and we'll compare it to Odoo.sh, how it fares. So if you were to think about Odoo on-premise, there's a lot of similarities between Odoo on-premise and Odoo SaaS in the sense that out of the box, you'll have access to our 548 official applications and modules that are available directly from any instance that you create. Obviously, right out of the box, we're very much API friendly. There are some official localizations that are built into the Odoo ecosystem, and I'm talking about Canada, United States, Mexico, and we are currently working on some other Latin American localizations that hopefully will roll out in 2020. And then you have customization capabilities with using Studio. But obviously on-premise goes the extra step. And now, an on-premise installation offers you the capability to add connectors and EDIs, integration with third-party applications, self-built modules, and non-official localizations. So in other words, if you live in a country outside the United States and you choose to create your own localization, on-premise is a solution for you. Odoo.sh, obviously, that's the comparison between on-premise and Odoo.sh, is that it allows the same capabilities you see there. So Odoo.sh versus Odoo.sh, it's in essence, it has that same base components, but when you turn on the Odoo.sh capabilities, it provides you the, let's see here, let me go back real quick. It provides you all the other components that you would get with an on-premise solution as well. You're able to integrate connectors and EDIs, integrations, self-built modules, and also official localizations. So how and when should you use Odoo.sh? The Odoo.sh flow is really simple. You first of all, during your process, the commercial process, you determine the Odoo.sh resources, as I had mentioned earlier, needed when you discuss it with a partner or with us directly. Once that is figured out, you need to acquire an Odoo enterprise license with Odoo.sh lines included in there. And then a GitHub, whoever's going to be doing the implementation or the development will need a GitHub account, because we link our enterprise licenses with a GitHub account, and you'll be able to push all your development through that GitHub platform. We can do that linking of the GitHub account for you, or you can do it directly through our Odoo portal access. Every time whoever buys an enterprise license gets access to an end user portal, and you'll be able to add that there yourself. And I'll show you a quick snapshot. And then what you do after that is simply you go to Odoo.sh, and whoever's going to be doing the implementation, the project manager, will log in using that GitHub profile or profiles. You can have multiple GitHub profiles linked to one enterprise license. So that means you can have various developers working on the same instance, provided you have the right amount of branches. And then the instance is created using Odoo Enterprise License, as you would do usually, and the project implementation customizations can then begin. So from a flow perspective, this is how it would look like. You get your resources all figured out. You buy the Odoo Enterprise license. We link it to your GitHub account. You install your applications, and then using Odoo.sh, you can then start to do the implementation and any customizations that you are looking for. And on the branches, as you saw there briefly, we provide separate branches for development, staging, and production. And once you go to production, that you have your live data. The staging will have production copy data. You will still be able to do some functionality to test it in that environment. Development, you have demo data. And the minute you pull an instance or a branch from development onto staging, the demo data remains behind. The idea is to give you some kind of data you can play with at the development level that will always remain at that branch. With staging and production, you have the capabilities to back up. We do automatic backups on your databases on an ongoing basis every day. You can always revert to a previous version throughout the development process. So it's a very user-friendly to a certain degree, and obviously when the developers come in, that's when they do all the development for you. That gets a little bit technical. So again, this presentation is more on the commercial side. We did do, just a heads up, a more technical presentation, I believe it was yesterday, and my colleague Gotham, I think, has a video out there. So if you want more technical, we have that already, I think, online. Odoo.sh does also allow for integration with other solutions such as UPS, FedEx, Yodlee would be, I don't know if you're familiar with that, but if you do any bank integrations, Yodlee is a third-party provider that does the handshake. So we never will have access to your sensitive bank data. They do the handshake so that we would sync with your bank on the accounting application through Yodlee. Of course, we have Magento and eBay. So when and why I should use Odoo.sh. So first, let's start with when. And I created this chart real quick. This is a rough guide, and this is definitely worth and I'd be more than happy to distribute this presentation or this slide as well. So if your Odoo project is up the top, one of the first questions you want to figure out right away is, are you going to require private infrastructure? So if yes, that's going to be on premises. And I put an asterisk there because we talked about that earlier. It could be for various reasons, right? It could be for regulation reason, HIPAA compliancy, ITAR, you name it. So once you determine that, you know right away you're going to have to go on premises. So that kind of eliminates that out of the whole equation. So if no, you still have a couple of other options on the table if you want to go with Odoo directly with our infrastructure. If it's an out-of-the-box solution, easy implementation with some Studio app customizations, and if it's a yes, you can still put it on SaaS. You don't have to go with Odoo.sh. If it's a no, it does require not only just that, but additional customization and custom modules. Then yes, if it's yes, definitely Odoo.sh would be an option for you to consider. If no, you can still put it on the SaaS platform, which has less cost than Odoo.sh, obviously. But, and mind you, I do want to say that all of this it can be done on this site, can also be done on premises, but it's a question of who do you want to engage with? Do you have a partner or not? That will guide you through the process of determining if Odoo.sh is the right fit for you. And so why would you use Odoo.sh? So there's no hosting hassles. We'll do all of that for you. We have our infrastructure. In terms of the database upgrades, so next year at this time, we're going to launch version 14. So as you have any customizations on Odoo.sh, it's going to be a lot easier to move to that new version if you are in our platform. Custom features and third-party applications are definitely possible on Odoo.sh, as I had mentioned earlier. Odoo.sh lets you focus on the development instead of the deployment, the painful part of deploying everything, whether it's infrastructure or the choice of servers and locations and what have you. And there's continuous integration. We have testing and validation within that environment. You can always test with our branches in their different stages. And we have tools at your disposition. You can do backups of a database anytime. You have access to logs, the shell, editors, and much, much more that get into the technical realm. So the pricing structure, just real quick to wrap it up a little bit, is that you want to determine your contract type, how many users you're going to be having on that database, what are the Odoo applications, and they depend. We have different tier structure based on yearly and monthly, obviously. You're going to have your applications regardless, and then you have to add Odoo.sh on top of that if you are going to have this database or instance on Odoo.sh. So that's our pricing structure based on a monthly or on a yearly contract, and you can see that there is definitely a discount between the two of them. And this information, by the way, is readily available on Odoo.sh. So what our objective with Odoo.sh, what we would try to do is roll out an easy-to-use platform to deploy instances for custom projects, focus on the customer's requirements and solution rather than the infrastructure. It's a faster implementation, custom development modules, and it's scalable. In other words, if you start with X amount of workers or resources and throughout the year and as your company grows, we have mechanisms that will say, hey, we recommend that you should use more workers or more gigabytes on your database. So we will create the system will create an automatic upsell for that scalability for you. Then you can choose what to do with that, whether you want to execute on that and add more resources and bandwidth on your instance on Odoo.sh. And clearly it's hosted by us. So we offer our same SLAs that you expect from our SaaS platform and easy for Odoo to support. And from a partner's perspective, it does create a new business model for some partners. We've seen partners who don't want to deal with infrastructure. They simply want to focus on the deployment and implementation, not even development. We've had partners that's all they do is use Odoo.sh, do a great implementation that's out of the box, use Studio, and that's their business model. So it opens new avenues for certain partners to think about another, if you want to think about it, another tool in their toolbox or another portfolio option for their customers. And that kind of wraps up. my presentation. I'll open it up for any questions that anybody might have.
I am going to ask everyone to please wait for the microphone for the questions, because we are streaming and recording the session, and it'll just make it easier for the people watching if they can hear
Sure.
the question.
Any questions? Oh, we see two. Oh, yes, sir.
Hi. Quick question. You said that if you have a need for like on-prem resources, that precludes you from using Odoo.sh. You got to be self-hosting.
I don't say it precludes you, but it's an assessment that you do along the way. And again, this is just a guideline. I think you're talking about the slide over here, this one here?
Yeah.
Yeah, this is just sort of a guideline that I put together that would say, hey, do I really need on-premises? And then the next step would be to maybe perhaps do a site-to-site comparison in terms of pricing an on-premise with a third-party provider versus Odoo.sh. That's definitely something that you might want to evaluate. I'm not saying this is definitely something that you should follow. It's just a guideline. But there are reasons why some companies do choose on-premises for regulatory purposes.
How is my instance actually implemented? Like if I can get a shell in that instance, could I not actually open up an SSH tunnel back to my on-prem infrastructure?
Now you're going right into that's very technical, and again, this presentation I will say is more on the commercial side. So are you trying to figure out if a database that you have is on what environment? Is that what you're getting at?
So I mean, how is it technically implemented? Am I running? Is it a Docker container hosted somewhere?
So I could show, and maybe this is so here. Maybe I'll run you through the flow. So I went to Odoo.sh. And I've already, myself as an employee, I've already created my GitHub account a while back, and I've validated that GitHub account. So I'm acting as, let's say, a partner or someone or a company that has an IT person that's going to deploy an instance. So when I log in, so you can see I've already logged in. This is my profile on GitHub. I go to my projects. Each one of these that you see here is actually a database that I created along the way as I've done demos for different customers around the world. So deploying one is, so in essence, what you're doing right now is you're spinning up an instance in a server. It's not it's a shared server, but we're partitioning a component of that server for you. And here, I'll show you how easy within that realm of quick and easy. You click on create, and because the infrastructure that we're using, we have a footprint around the world, you can choose where your instance, where you want to deploy it. So whether it's in the Americas, Europe, or Asia. So now I can choose whether I want an existing repository that I've already worked on to duplicate that or create a new one. I'm just going to create a new one. I'll say connect version 13. I can choose what version to create my database in right there from the drop-down menu. And then this is where you would do the subscription code that you've purchased with us. The enterprise code would go here. We have a trial one, and I hit deploy, and right now basically we're spinning an instance to create a database that's, as you can see here, it's queuing up, and it's going to be built. It's going to drop right into one of my, into the development stage, which will have the demo data. And then, if you recall, I was saying it was scalable. So from settings here, this is where you can see how many workers you have. In this case, I have one. I have 2 staging branches. And if I surpass these for whatever reason, the platform will recommend you should go up to the next worker, or maybe you only have 2, you should get a 3rd. So we provide that insight. And here's where, and there's a little bit of discrepancy here. I earlier said it's 1 to 15. I really use that internally. We go back and forth, but here's 1 worker equals 25,000 daily visitors to, let's say, a website if you were to use the website application with Odoo. So from in terms of, if I had a production, so it's already set, and if I hit connect, I go into a fresh database, and this is where this looks just like your usual Odoo interface, and this is where I would start adding the users and the applications that I purchase on that enterprise license prior to launching this instance. So this is where I install, for instance, CRM, and now it's kind of operational. I can start customizing whether it's using Studio. I'm not sure if that answered anything of your question, but.
So you do have SSH access to the
Yeah.
project page where he was working if you need console. And
So I understand that part of it. I'm just wondering, like, how do you implement these virtual environments? Like, what technology are you using to implement these virtual environments?
You mean in terms of the infrastructure?
Yeah, like, is it a Docker container that you're spinning up that's like my environment's isolated in this,
Yeah.
this Docker environment?
So-
or using
yeah.
like, OpenStack to spin up an instance and
Yeah.
like a VM? How are you doing it?
So you're definitely going into a realm that's out of the commercial aspect. My colleague Gotham, I can put you in touch with him. He did a technical webinar yesterday. It's already going to be on YouTube. He might have touched upon that, but I'd be more than happy. After this, just come see me, and then I can take you to if he's available. I think he probably is around. That's technical. Commercial. Yeah. Yes, sir. I can repeat the question. I mean,
I'm a little new here, so help me understand about the structure of, so that encode gives you access to, both the SH environment as well as the online environment, right?
Well, so let me, in this flow here that I showed earlier, the enterprise license or the ENT code, that's when you're buying an enterprise license from Odoo. So I think I try to make that as clear. So in the process, when you're interfacing with the sales department within Odoo, and we've discovered what your business need is, and you say, I want to go with Odoo.sh. So in the process of what we do from the back end, before we create that enterprise license, we have to add Odoo.sh within our operational perspective. When we create a sales quote and send it to you to sign off on it and pay, we add Odoo.sh. And that's what determines if you will have access to Odoo.sh platform or not. So we do the determination of what do you need in terms of Odoo.sh, the resources, and then you buy the enterprise license, and that enterprise license unlocks the entire platform. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, so the question really is around, okay, we are a solution provider, we're a partner for this thing.
Yeah.
So, should we use this for demos for other customers, right? We use it for that purpose as well as I thought we were able to use it even for internal purpose. So
Sure.
Is it mutually exclusive, or is it, how does it actually work?
So if you're a partner, like I said, certain partners might want to add Odoo.sh as a solution within their portfolio for various reasons. Maybe it's easier to deploy. I do realize some partners that an on-premises solution is part of their business model. But if you add Odoo.sh, it just adds a little bit more. Maybe your customer wants to deploy something a little bit faster. They want to feel a bit more secure. So to answer one of the components, you can use Odoo.sh for demos. Just keep in mind that they will expire. You have very certain limits. You have 30 days before you have the database goes dead. Yeah. Any other questions? We got to cut it? All right. Thank you.
Okay, well, thank you for attending this is the second talk this afternoon in this partnership track in Portal 2 today of day 2 at Odoo Connect. Mauricio Rodriguez is going to talk to us today about how they became a gold partner in 6 months. So let's give a welcome to Mauricio and get going with the talk. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much. I am very happy to be here with you. I will talk about our story and how we became gold partners in 6 months. This is our agenda, the beginning, the moment of truth, main steps to become gold partner, lessons we have learned, and the future for our company. At the beginning, I want to talk about what is mid-mood. Mid-mood means most important thing, most urgent thing. We were founded in 2001 by my wife and myself. In 2002, we won a project from the Tourism Ministry in Mexico that it was called Moderniza. That program was very important for us. In 2012, we have our highest revenue year. Then in 2013, we dropped 80% our revenue. Then we changed direction in 2013. In 2018, we became Odoo partner, and in 6 months, we became Odoo gold partner. Then I will talk a little. This is a letter from the Ministry of Tourism from Mexico that said that we have this program, Moderniza, that has been implemented in 48,000 companies in Mexico. Then we gained a lot of experience from this program that extended for 15 years and is still being implemented. Our background is Japanese methodology. You should have been heard about lean manufacturing, total quality management, and we made 3 books. This book in the middle was made with different authors from Argentina, Brazil, and many successful cases in Latin America. That's our background. And the moment of truth. In October 2nd, 2018, I received 2 pieces of bad news in 1 day. An important client would not renew license. We weren't at that time Odoo partners. It was another vendor. Another call to complain about the performance of the softwares we implemented. And our main product was this software. Then in the same day, 2 bad news. Then we decided that day that we joined Odoo in October 2 of 2018. The main steps to become gold partner, we didn't start from scratch. In reality, we have a well-trained and committed team in Open Bravo. There is the people, in the bottom are the consultants, in the above part is the support team, the commercial team, the administration team, and with this team, we have made our history. And we have profound values, integrity, discipline, teamwork, innovation, and for us, all things should be done to grow happy. We don't like our customers to have problems. We don't like problems. And all we do is to keep growing happy. These are our customers now. Our first customers are the red target. But we already have some very important customers for us. We work very closely with our Odoo partner manager. Gigi is here, and this is one of the lessons we learned, that you need to be close to Odoo to succeed in this business. we provide intense training to our team to implement these apps. It's easier than other software, but it's not so easy. You need to train the people. If you don't train the people, you do not succeed implementing. Then we train. Another thing that we do to become partner or gold partner is we sponsor 2 Odoo tours in 2019. In Mexico, I don't know who are partners, if can help me raising their hands, who are partners? And who are partners from Latin America? You know that in our countries, the relation, the face-to-face is very important to sell anything. And then for us, sponsor the Odoo tours have been very important to our success. We sponsored twice in 2019. We designed a mid-mood methodology to implement Odoo. With our background, we designed a methodology that has many features that our customers like. It's not an easy job implementing an ERP. A high percentage are failed projects, and the majority do not fulfill its time and cost targets. I was surprised by this, and we analyzed and we wrote an article about 15 pages, 9 causes why ERP implementation fails. And I found 3 due to the software, when the software is designed to solve another issue, when the software is outdated, and the poor response from the manufacturer are reasons to failure due to the software. We are happy that Odoo is not in this case. Our projects are well done with Odoo because this is not the causes in its case. But due to the partner is lack of an appropriate implementation methodology. That is very important. Or lack of technical knowledge. That is another big problem. And the third one is when you have a very successful commercial team, but not a back office that are very strong, and you lack installed capacity. I found all the time these cases. And very surprised for me, also the customer has 3 causes of implementation failure. Lack of dedication, when the company didn't dedicate so much to the implementation, you have problems. When the customer make a lot of change, you have problems. Or when the customer wants to adapt 100% the software to their practical procedures, you have a problem. This helps us, and every time a customer asks us, what is your methodology? How I know that I am safe with you? I send this article. We have done all this research. Our methodology has some characteristics. We always go by phases. We don't implement everything at once. We go by the most important. As I said, mid-mood is most important thing. We keep this in our philosophy. First, the most important. Then we make quick elimination downtime and activities that do not add value. Lean manufacturing is that, eliminate any step that doesn't add value. We make teamwork with us and with the customer. We have a weekly cycle. We check advance every week, and we keep developments only at the strictly necessary. That are characteristics. As a management tools, we use Project Charter. We have an implementation master plan. We have a tool to understand customer needs. We keep control of the change. We have a procedure. We have a weekly progress meeting, a monthly progress report, and a green, yellow, red communication and scaling problem. That are our management tools. Another important thing, we have alliance with Odoo, of course, with Open Bravo, the other ERP vendor, with Bauso, that is the localization partner. We work close to them. With Tejig, another company that make developments. And also we have a alliance with Jupical that is in India, and they help us with some developments. What we learn in this process, once a very important company called me and said to me, I want to know your methodology. And I said, what is my methodology? Then that day I put in writing our methodology, because we did the things, but we don't call our methodology. Then create your own methodology and show it as a differentiation is very important for us. Another, I think you should select your customers. When a project fails, you suffer, but also the client, everyone suffers. And maybe you see this project will fail because the CEO doesn't care. Then better don't do that, because everything will end wrong. Different kind of methodologies. We have three different kinds. Do it with you. That's the main methodology. Do it for you. When a company doesn't want to manage the system, we do it for them and give support to their users. Or do it yourself. That is very important for people that don't have money but have time and want to learn. It's the right methodology. Do it yourself. We only give advice and sell hours to them. That's the most important. Manage customer expectation from the beginning. Mainly when the customer is not a company that has had in the past an ERP, they imagine many things, and you should say very clear what can be expected of this project, at what he can do, he should do, and what will you do in order to succeed. This is very important lesson that we learn. For us, it's also important that our consultants specialize in some verticals. If you specialize, you can sell easily, you can sell more value, and you can also have a better price than if you do the things that everybody does. We selected schools, manufacturing, and retail as our main verticals, but now with this field service app, I love this app. I will try to make a vertical in this sector. Go far beyond implementing a software. Our clients require a long-term strategic ally. I like the customers that implement and keep with us with support and don't go away. And I said from the beginning, this is the first implementation, then we support you. We keep the system, the implementation, and then will come another phase. And we are going to be your strategic allies forever. That's good for the company, the customer, and good for us. Another lesson, aligned with the other strategy. Odoo is a worldwide success that has demonstrated the ability to grow and become the most used management system in the world. Everything Fabrice said this morning about the vision, The community version, the enterprise version, is a very important vision and strategy. We are going to follow this direction. To end this talking the future, we already spent our first year with Odoo learning and preparing. Now is the time to accelerate and grow together with Odoo in Mexico and help thousands of companies grow profitably. We are the country with more partners, you saw this morning, but there are thousands and thousands and thousands of companies that need this solution. Then we need to be a good partner to succeed, but I'm not worried about 176 partners. I am happy that many people is promoting the brand, and we are going to be ready to support also any partner that can work as ally with us. That's all. Thank you very much, and I am happy to have any question if you have.
Thank you.
Yes.
I'll bring the microphone to the back. First question.
Thank you. Gracias, Mauricio. It was a very interesting chat. So my question for you is, since you are an Odoo partner, and we have many partners in the Latin American region, more specifically in Mexico, starting their businesses, and people who is young as well, people who is just joining the community, Odoo community, my question for you is, how do you say no to a client? Let's say that your customer, your client wants to implement something, and you as the expert know that maybe that is not the best thing for them to do. In Mexico, it is really hard to say no. So how do you handle that conversation with your customer?
Yes, you can say yes if the customer want to say yes to some requisites or some things that should to be done in order to succeed. I said you say no to customers that are going to be a failure. I don't know if I am clear, but I know if you have if you are a new partner, you're a small company, maybe you need to have revenue, and you have a customer, then you take that customer and you fail to implement correct. That doesn't help. I prefer to pass one customer that is not suitable to implement one ERP, or some customers wants everything to a low price. And you say, and also I want that you invest only 20 hours or 50 hours to implement all this. It's not possible. Then better to say, no, I cannot do that. For me, it's very important that the customer has clear expectation about the project. You go to the doctor, and you don't say to the doctor what you need to be healthy. You hear the doctor. Then it's the same.
So there are a lot of new partners, and some of them, they just have experience on specific softwares, but they have really good sales teams. One of the things that you say that is important to have is the people that will, the capacity inside the companies. I mean, the people that is working on the code and then will do the real implementation. What happened in the case that I know that there is a lot of new partners that they are in the situation that they have good people selling, and in the moment that they have to do the implementation, they have issues with that. Mm-hmm. So what do you recommend it to them?
I always look for somebody to help me, like another partner. I have Bauso is the oldest partner, the localization partner. They help us. I talk with another partners in Mexico, with Xmarts, that is another big partner. I know them. First thing, I go there and I present. I am a new kid in the block, and I try to make alliance with anybody, with the India people, with our other partners. Market is huge. If you want to eat alone, you will die in the try. Then I recommend to don't go alone. That's very important. And if you have the fortune to have a big client, it's better to take one part and to share with another partner in order to succeed everybody together. Yes.
Here goes the microphone.
Mauricio, we want to start as an Odoo partner. And the question is, how many people do we need to start and succeed at the beginning?
I had 17 people, but I have a problem because I have a lot of expenses and I need to come with sales to feed that team. If you don't have the team already, I think that you can start with 4 people. You don't need the developers inside. Developers, you can try to make developments least possible, but you need to have implementing people, at least 2 guys, 2 or 3 guys, 1 people selling. I think you can succeed with 4 people. But full-time people, I cannot say, or you can choose to go and selling and make the commercialization and to subcontract another partner to implement, that could be another, but you don't need a big team for my experience. My problem was that I have a big team and a wonderful team. I want to give my people our knowledge of we are a great team, but if you are not selling enough to keep the expenses, it's a big problem. Then was my moment of truth when one customer said, I don't want to renew, another complained. In that same day, I called and I asked to become partner of Odoo because I need a solution very quickly.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Any other questions? Sure.
Please.
First of all, I want to congratulate you for your presentation. And well, my question is related to lean manufacturing. You mentioned it, lean manufacturing, and it's a very interesting concept. So in your experience, when you're implementing a company, what things sometimes we partners or the implementer do that creates waste and doesn't add value to the client, but it happens because sometimes we kind of lose focus of what we're doing. So what do you recommend to keep track in order to not create waste and always deliver value to the client?
Yes, waste is a very strong word. For Japanese, there are 7 different kinds of waste. For us, there are no waste, but for the Japanese, they put some lenses and see waste everywhere. For example, to have a lot of inventory is a waste, and they reduce your profitability if you have a lot of inventory because it is an active, no? An asset. You have the waste that I have seen more in this implementation is the waste of waiting. You wait and wait and wait and wait, and the project goes long and long and long, and the customer don't understand that is a waste. And then we have weekly advance meeting. And I start to add in my proposals a penalization for every day that we go beyond the deadline. But you know, the manufacturing always, it depends, but there is, it's complex, the manufacturing. But you have to have inventory, you have to have process to transformation, you have the end inventory, and it's complex, not more complex than service, for example. And then I like to understand the process, to look for the waste, where is it, and to propose what to implement to the company. Then any manufacturing has similar problems. Then we choose to do that in manufacturing.
I think we have to get ready for the next talk, so we've run out of time for the questions. So let's thank Mauricio again for his presence. Let me know when you're ready, Nick.
Actually, yeah, I'm not. I'm gonna skip the video. Sorry, guys. Okay.
Okay, well, welcome everyone to this mid-afternoon talk. We'll have a short break after it, but before that, Nicholas Kaczynski, Senior Account Executive, is that what it is?
Whatever it is.
He's gonna talk to us about Odoo Studio and how to use it as an instrument for selling. Let's give Nick a warm welcome here and get going with this talk before the break.
Thank you, everyone. this last minute, but nice to meet you all. Today we're going to talk about Odoo Studio. I'm going to try to not make it as, so much of an overview as much as to help you understand how to leverage this tool in order to, communicate your ideas effectively, whether that be in an environment where you're selling to an end client or internally amongst colleagues or, departments, etc. So, introduction, or what an agenda today is going to be, obviously an introduction. I'm Nick. We're going to talk a little bit about Studio as a communication tool. I'm going to just jump right into the software then and actually show you some of the fundamentals of Studio, and then we'll end with a Q&A. So, introduction. Now, this is a quote that my dad used to always tell me growing up, and it's to always be selling what the customer is buying. And I always took that for granted, but looking back on it, it actually makes a lot of sense. Now, with this quote, I'm not advising you to go against the Odoo philosophy of align with the out-of-the-box product and of course help your client understand what is an absolute requirement versus what is a nice to have, and how all of those things can work within the confines of what our tool does out of the box. What I am encouraging you to do is to align with what the customer is looking for when it comes to flexibility in software, and to be able to show that this is a tool that can evolve with you, that can help you achieve your goals up front without too much investment. So with that, we'll move forward. So Studio is a communication tool. Now, first angle, which we'll approach this through, is the sales angle, which there's a few items that Studio will help you do, what Studio can help you do as a salesperson. And the first is it's a great prototyping tool. In the sales process, a lot of times clients will be stubborn and they will say, I know that you call it a partner, but I really like to call it a client or a customer, or the name of a field. Little things like that will bother them. And traditionally, people would be like, well, look, that's the name of the field, and get over it. That's how it works out of the box. But with Studio, you're able to just select that field, make a change on the fly to the field names, things like that, right? Simple cosmetics, the little things, the icing on the cake. This will allow you to capture the client's attention, and it will allow you to, help Odoo stand out amongst the crowd. I used to work at NetSuite, and there was no changing a field name on a demo. There was no modifying the way that a workflow is executed or anything like that. And with Odoo, it's much different. It's much easier. So, prototyping tool. The second option is demonstrating flexibility. There's no question about it that Odoo is one of the most flexible software packages on the market. Being able to show that off, even as a non-technical person, to say, look at this, check this out. Yes, it's cool in the demo, but as a smart business person who's evaluating software, you want a tool that is going to evolve with you and your business. And you don't want to have that be an expensive undertaking every time you have to evolve to the next step. And in showing how easy and simple it is to make modifications to the software, to build out new workflows, etc. Again, it helps people say, this is a solution that is going to work for me today and in the future. Scalability is a big word. Everybody's constantly referring to it, but very few software solutions actually practice what they preach. Builds confidence, as I mentioned, into the scalability idea. It shows that, hey, this actually can do what my salesperson's telling me it can do versus the other way around. And lastly, wow factor. Of course, we'll go through a few examples today which should maybe wow you, I don't know. Internally, so if you're working within the IT department and you have different departments where you're implementing the software within your company, again, prototyping tool where it's going to allow you to build models. So you can install demo databases or fire up a new instance on your machine, and you can say, okay, well, we were thinking of working with it like this or like that. It actually helps flesh out ideas. It helps people think about new ways to do things, so on and so forth. Autonomy. Now, you don't need to have a developer come in and actually code out a bunch of stuff in order to see what a prototype might look like or a model. You can do it on the fly with just drag and drop, a drag and drop method, and you can quickly get the results you're looking for and validate them or not. And of course, evolution, what I talked about earlier, it'll help you evolve. So with that, I'm just going to jump into Odoo Studio. How many people in the room are familiar with Odoo Studio? and you've played around with it, all that. So I will do a quick overview, and I'll just go into the customer record here. Of course, my internet is going to be slow. Sorry. It dropped because I forgot to activate it. So while that's going, give me a second. We're going to use demo. Customers. So as for the quick overview, when you pull up, and you guys can see, okay, yep. Okay, so the layout is pretty simple, right? When you go into a view, you can pull up, this is the form view, it's called. You can pull up Studio, and it's going to give you this little side menu where you'll see, obviously, different components you can add, such as contacts, sales, accounting, internal, and new fields. Of course, these are all the different field types. I'm not going to take time to walk through those right now, but just Google the different field types or just drag and drop them on your own in your free time, and you'll quickly learn what they do and how they relate to the rest of the system. And then here there are the existing fields, or the fields that are already defined on the object or the model in Odoo. So you, of course, don't have to have all of these fields on display at any time, but they will still be associated to that model, and you can pull them back on at any time from here. So to add a new field, the most interesting field, I think, is the many-to-one field, which allows me to reference any table in the back end. So contacts, right, I could link a sale order, I could link another contact, I could link an invoice. There's a million different things that you can come up with, an infinite number of things to link as long as there's a table in the back end for it. But that's how you would essentially add fields. Now, up here you'll have your views, which I mentioned before. We were in the form view, there's activity view, there's a search view, Kanban view, right? If I jump into the list view, again, same concept applies. Just drag and drop and add fields at any place here. For example, if I want to see address type, I can quickly drag and drop that, and it adds it to the view. Now, the next, outside of views, there's search views, which allow you to modify the predefined filters and things that you can search by, and then calendar, Gantt, cohort, graph, pivot, dashboard. Then next would be going into here where you modify all your reports. Here you have just 2 customer reports, but if you remove the filter, you'll see all the PDF or reports in Odoo, and you could at any time just search by those and and pull those up, and then drill down into those, for example, as such. And again, Studio will allow you to drag and drop and add those fields to this report. So closing out of this, I'm going to jump back to my slides, and I want to talk to you about what I call the fundamentals of Odoo Studio. So the first is adding and removing fields. That's pretty simple, and for the sake of time, I did just talk a little bit about how you can drag and drop and add fields to the form, so I'm going to move forward. The next would be related fields. What a related field is in Odoo is it helps you automate the movement of information from one record to another. And a simple example of that would be and let me just pull up another database. This one here. So a simple example of that would be, let's say I go onto my customer record and I want to add a field to this record, and I'm going to call it status, and we'll just say low, medium, or high for whatever reason. And we'll use a selection field, and I'll say low, medium, high, and I will confirm, and that will drop the field and create it on that record as such. And I can, of course, click on the field, and I can rename it, and I can say status. I can see the widget. I can select different field types, which you can have like a radio option, or you can have a drop-down option, things like that. You'll see that all listed here. And then I can, of course, go into limiting or assigning a default value. So every time this record's created, I can select a new value, or I can limit the visibility to groups. But I have a status now assigned to a customer record, and I'll close it out and it will save it. And with that, I can assign the status just like that. And now let's say, I want to go to a sale order, and I want to be able to look at the customer assigned to that sale order, and I also want to know what the status is of that customer without having to navigate into the customer record. And to do that, it's quite simple. There's a field here in Odoo that you can select a field type, which is called related field, and you drag and drop it, and here it will show you all the fields on the sale order object, which you can drill down into in order to select the field behind that object that you want to reference on the object you're looking at, which in this case will have a status value here, and we'll confirm and we'll drop it, and it will then create that new field. We'll just call it status, and when I assign the customer, I think it was Agrelay, was it? We'll see here, it's the first one. It will automatically pull the value, which was low. So that's the related field as the first pillar. This next one is what's called automated actions. And in my opinion, automated actions, when it comes to selling and creating a wow factor with a customer, it's, like I said, in my opinion, the most important and valuable tool that Odoo offers. And let's take a look at what these actually do. So an automated action is exactly what it sounds like. When a certain condition is met in Odoo, such as the status of a sale order, the city that a customer is assigned to, anything really, any condition that can be measured in the system, it automates an action. And what we can do is we can create the action here, and we'll say update status. So when customers say, hey, I want this to automatically happen, or I want an email to automatically send when my sale order is confirmed, or when my delivery is confirmed, or I want an SMS to go out, then you use an automated action, again, without having to write any code, to actually automate the action. So let's look at the model, and I'll say on the contact record, you define the object it's going to occur on. The trigger condition, I can say at what point, or what am I looking to measure, and how. On creation, on update, on creation and update, when something's deleted, when a form is modified or a value is modified on that record, or based on a time condition. So maybe when a delivery order is confirmed, 30 minutes after that confirmation, then I want to trigger an action, things like that. So we'll just say on creation and update. And what I'm going to do, I'm going to apply it. I can say, apply it on all, for example, I'm looking at the customer record. I can say, look at the city, and if the city contains, for example, Buffalo, save it, then I define the action I want to do. So it's going to look at all the records where the city equals Buffalo, and it's going to say, this is the action we're going to do. And I can execute Python code, which is more, you can define more advanced, actions. I can create a new record somewhere else, which is awesome. Like, think about that. When an email lands in and this record is created, or if this button is checked, or if the city is Buffalo, then I want to create a new record somewhere else inside the system, right? Think about like, oh, this ticket requires repair, and it automatically creates a repair order, assigns the customer that help this ticket had assigned to it to the repair order. You can link the products, right? You can tie everything together in an automated way, again, without any code. And I don't know any other software systems out there, at least ERP systems, that allow you to do this. So we're going to actually, I'm going to update the record, and I'm going to say when the city is equal to Buffalo, I want you to look at the status field, and I want you to assign a value, and I want you to assign the value equal to high. And I'll save it. And now we will look at the customer record quickly, and I'll create a new one just called Michael Solero, and we will say city equals Buffalo, and when I save it, you'll see the status automatically updates to high. Simple example. I've got 5 minutes left. Lots to cover in no time. So, related fields and automated actions. Extrapolate on the logic that we just showed there, and you can apply that to anywhere else across the platform. Again, that's what the beauty of having one single piece of business architecture, has to offer, is that this functionality is applicable across your help desk, your warehouse, your sales order management, your accounting system, etc. So yeah, I'm fascinated by that. That's why I work here. Calculated fields, I'll try to squeeze it in, and custom reports both. So calculated fields in Odoo essentially allow you to do simple or like operations, such as multiply, divide, add, or subtract. Now you'll be surprised, in the sales process, people say, well, I do commissions, and I don't have time to build out a commissions flow, but I do have videos on YouTube which show you how to do that. But it's where you can say, okay, this salesperson, right, I assign a commission percentage to them, say 10%. And then when that salesperson is assigned to a sale order, I use a related field to call the commission percent assigned to that salesperson to that sale order. And then I can say this field on the sale order, I can then create a multiplication where I say this commission percent times the amount total will give me this new value, which is the payable commission to that salesperson. And we can try to do it quickly, but it won't be. I'll just bore you to death. If you have more questions, then just find me after, and I'll be happy to go over with you. Does anyone have any questions? Sure. Thanks. Sorry if I spoke super fast. I just was really pressed for time.
In the example, I saw the automated tasks can run on Python code.
Yeah.
When we want to run Python code, we need to install the software at the customer server or at the Odoo.sh platform, or if we need to use the enterprise license, we can run this code at the platform.
Are you asking if there's like limitations around how you have to be hosted?
Yeah, where we need to install the software to run that code.
You can, pardon?
Where needs to be installed the interpreter, the Python interpreter? Does it run natively on the user PC? Does it run on the SH? Does it run on?
It would run across all three of the hosting options that we offer. If you want to drill deeper into like a specific use case, then I'm happy to meet with you after this and talk about that. Okay? Sorry if I didn't clarify 100%. Anyone else have questions? Sure.
Can we install the module, make changes, and uninstall it? I mean, I know you can, but is it correct
To
do that?
It's advised against. So the reason why is if you install a module, what you're doing is, especially if you install it and then quickly uninstall it, that's usually fine. But when you install a record, a module, and you create records within that module, then you're activating dependencies in other modules across the system, which if you then try to uninstall it, it could, have negative implications. A simple example would be, like accounting is usually big with that, because if you, create an invoice and you post a journal entry, then, you could, and then you try to uninstall invoicing, then you're gonna, things aren't gonna go well.
I mean, in this particular module in Studio.
Oh.
Because if once I make the change that the client needs, I don't really need the module anymore.
Oh, like that.
So I'm killing him with the cost of the license when he doesn't really need it.
Right. So you would have to maintain the Odoo Studio module and on your database and pay for it monthly or annually or whatever your contract is, for the simple reason that migrations occur. And Odoo, when you have the Studio module installed, will cover the migrations for you. That's how.
For the next version.
Next version, exactly.
Yeah, but if it's a simple change that I made, like a field, they ask a field in a customer or whatever.
Right. When you migrate, the field will be changed to what's standard in Odoo, and you would have to go back and modify that field. But so if you have one or two things, you'll probably get away with it. But if you have more complex things, then if you want to redo it every year, then you have to.
Thanks.
Yep. Any other questions? All right. Thank you.